So, I am gonna do a brand new series on this channel, which is that for now on, every Wednesday, I am gonna be talking about the news of the week that happened in MLS, some of the biggest story that has happened throughout the week, and of course, I won't be able to cover every big stories. I'll be covering just the biggest story, because if I cover every big story, it's gonna be a really long video. But we'll start off with this week, and we start off with probably the biggest and most surprising news we had all season, which is Oscar Pereira. He's leaving. He is leaving FC Dallas. He is going to be going to Tijuana, and this is certainly a very shocking kind of departure. And I think of all the departure that we had so far this season, and there has been a lot, there has been more than ever before in terms of coaching leaving this year, and coaches that decided to either leave because they're doing a bad job with their team, or they're leaving because they're pursuing another opportunity in Europe or even in Liga MX. And in this case, that's what Oscar Pereira did. He is pursuing an opportunity to manage a Liga MX team, and it's definitely a surprising thing that he decided to do this, because when he was interviewed about what was his motive of wanting to leave FC Dallas and move on to Tijuana, is that he just wanted a new challenge, and that even though it was a very difficult situation and a very difficult decision that he has to make, because he loves FC Dallas and his family also love living in the Dallas area, he thought that this would be just a new kind of challenge that he wants in his coaching career. And of course, I respect the decision that he decided to do. You know, if a coach wants a new challenge, then he can of course accept to do that. But as for FC Dallas, this is a huge loss for them. I mean, Oscar Pereira, he is the backbone of how this FC Dallas team has been so good for the past couple of seasons, and how good this academy is. You know, I talked about how this Dallas team has a very good academy. It's all because of what Oscar Pereira built, from the time that he was still in charge of the youth team to the time that he's now becoming the manager of this team, and how he's one of the few MLS coaches that believe in the youth that he has in the academy and play those youth players. And you look at all the players that come out of the Dallas Academy, guys like Weston McKennie, Kellen Acosta, and all those guys, you know, they have done good things. Well, you know, Acosta right now hasn't really done. I mean, he used to be very good, but then he kind of took a big step back. But now he's kind of looking good again at Colorado. You know, Pereira has built up this good system that, you know, it looked like he's gonna continue to use that system as a way for Dallas to be successful, because FC Dallas is a team that is not known for spending. They really never a team that usually go into the transfer market and just splash out the cash. So that makes me kind of wonder, is this going to be something that the front office of FC Dallas is thinking of doing? Because, you know, the next coach that they hire might not be the one that might believe in the youth system. So do they decide to splash the cash and do a transition and kind of, you know, not really focus on a lot of the academy? And for me, I don't think that's going to happen. I still think Dallas is going to still focus a lot on their academy, and they're going to bring guys from the academy. And especially the fact that this team now has a USL team, you know, that should be much easier now, bringing some guys from their academy and able to play them in MLS much readier than the past player that just basically had no experience. I mean, they were kind of like in the academy, and then once they come out of the academy, it's straight to MLS because you don't have a USL team. Another coaching news of this week, Jim Curtin signed a 1-year deal with the Philadelphia Union, and you know, I know a lot of Union fans are upset about this because of the fact that they don't like Jim Curtin and his tactics and the way that it feels like it's been overdue, the fact that he should be replaced. And there was a chance that he was going to be replaced. I mean, there was a lot of uncertainty with how Ernie Stewart, no longer the GM of the Union, and Ernest Tanner coming in, and there's been just speculation that Tanner does not really want Jim Curtin as part of his future. And it looked like it is still the case with this 1-year deal he signed. Because when Tanner talk about the signings, he says that, he wants to give Jim Curtin kind of another chance, but he still are not planning to have a long-term kind of thing where he's going to just keep Jim Curtin for a long time. And that is going to be kind of very interesting, and certainly that means that Jim Curtin next season is going to be really on the hot seat. I mean, if there is a manager next season that could be the first one to get out of the club, it's got to be Jim Curtin, because it's clear that Tanner does not want him to be in this future, but he's giving this 1-year deal just because of the fact that what Curtin has done this season and how he has built this team from a team that looked like was going to have another bad season to a team that made it to the US Open Cup final and made it into the playoffs. Maybe there is something there, but I just have a feeling that even with this 1-year deal, it doesn't sound like Curtin is going to be there for a very long time, and especially if he does not get it right this season, he's gone. He's 100% gone for sure. Sticking with the coaching news, Tata Martino still have not confirmed to be the next Mexico national team coach, despite Don Gabbert's confirmation. So the MLS Commissioner Don Gabbert confirmed on Tuesday that Mexico has officially announced that Tata Martino is the new manager of the Mexican national team, but the Mexican Federation denied that kind of talk and said that he hasn't really put paper, or Tata Martino hasn't put his pen on the paper, says that it's confirmed that he's going to be the next manager of the Mexican national team. And Tata Martino himself also said that, I'm still in Atlanta, and this is still my team. I'm not going to just focus on the future now. I'm going to stay with Atlanta and think about how we're going to do for the rest of the season. And then in the off season, we'll see how it goes. So for those of you wondering, has Tata Martino been officially the manager of the Mexican national team? The answer is not yet. Okay, right now it's kind of unofficial that he is going to be the next manager of the Mexican national team. The other news, Zlatan report to return to AC Milan for €2 million. So originally, LA says that they agreed terms that Zlatan, or actually they didn't agree terms, but they denied the fact that Zlatan is going to be going to AC Milan, and AC Milan agreed terms with Zlatan that he is going to be coming back to AC Milan. Remember, he was with AC Milan a couple of years ago, but the Galaxy denied that and said that he is going to be staying for another season. And it is going to be interesting to see whether or not if Zlatan is leaving. And if Zlatan is leaving, he's going to be leaving in January. He's going to be immediately going back to his old team, and he's going to immediately play with AC Milan because, in Europe, the season has just begun. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this deal is going to go. We'll probably know this by January, because that's when the transfer window open in Europe, and we will find out if Zlatan is going to be staying in LA or he is going to be going back to Europe. But either way, if he's leaving Europe, certainly thanks for the memory. I mean, as much as I am a Quakes fan, and the fact that Zlatan is playing against our rival team, he has done some incredible thing in his short time in MLS. He has done something that we'll probably will never forget, and one of the biggest thing that he has done is that goal that he scored that tied the game against LAFC in that El Trafford goal. I mean, that thundering 40-yard volley, that is going to be something that it's going to be playing on the replay, and something that it's going to be in the commercial of MLS for a very long time, because that is got to be the best goal we have ever seen in MLS history. The other news, FC Cincinnati and Nashville has now signed their first ever MLS signing. Both of them are star signing from the USL. So FC Cincinnati decided to sign Corbin Bone, who actually was part of FC Cincinnati in their inaugural season in USL, so they decided to bring him back. I don't know much about this guy other than the fact that I think the reason why FC Cincinnati is doing this is because they want to get some experience and some veteran leadership on that team. And Nashville, of course, signed Daniel Rios, who is actually on loan with Chivas, and he is also a Mexican under 21 national team player on that team. And it's interesting the fact that these two upcoming teams in MLS decided to not really go for some big star player in Europe or some aging kind of star player in Europe as their first ever signing. I mean, when you look at some of the past signings for a couple of the past MLS expansion teams, they usually go big and just swing for the fences for their first signing. With LAFC, Carlos Vela; with NYCFC, David Villa; with Atlanta United, Joseph Martinez, or actually I think it was Miguel Almiron, the first signing, or was it Joseph Martinez? Either that, it is a big signing from Europe. It looks like Cincinnati and Nashville is taking a little bit of a different approach by signing some star player in USL, and maybe this is where we started to see the gap closing in terms of USL player finally getting a chance in MLS to perform. Although one thing I will say is that I have seen USL star players play in MLS and how they really struggle in the league. So it will be interesting to see how FC Cincinnati and Nashville will do with both of these signing. And I'm pretty sure when they do come to the league, and especially for FC Cincinnati, who's coming into the league next season, we're going to get more kind of signing. And also it's going to be interesting to see who they're going to get in the expansion draft. And then finally, for the news of the week, and this is probably one of the other big news that hasn't really been talked a lot, but it has a big impact on the future season in MLS, is that they're planning to change the playoff format again. And they're also planning to shorten the season. And that is something I kind of mentioned yesterday when I talked about the Seattle Sounders and how if they do go with a shortened season and how they start off the season very poorly for the first couple of months, they might not have a chance to do their usual second half resurgence because of the shortened season. Now, from what I heard is that MLS is going to plan to have the same amount of games, so there's still going to be 34 games that each MLS team will be playing, but that means that there's going to be more midweek game and there's going to be more congested kind of fixture for each team, which in some way that's kind of bad because for teams do not like these midweek games, especially the fact that when you have to travel all the way across the other side of the country to play a midweek game, teams usually does not perform very well. And also midweek games tends to not bring a lot of people in the stands. Midweek games are usually one of the hardest one to get people to attend the game because it's in the middle of the week. Everybody have to work and everybody has to go to work the next day, unlike in the weekend game where everybody usually are off on the weekend and families can go to the the game and watch the game, not knowing the fact that tomorrow they're going to have their work day because it is a Saturday. So that's kind of an interesting thing that MLS is doing in terms of the shortened season, and maybe kind of a negative impact in terms of their way to shorten their season in the regular season. And it's also in the postseason too. They're planning to get the MLS Cup done before the November international break because, as I've been talking about, how this is a bit of a problem with the MLS playoff format and how you have this long period between the conference semifinal to the conference final. That just completely breaks up the rhythm of every single team. Like, no team that is coming into the playoff very hot should be sitting out for 17 days until they play a conference final. That should not have happened in any other sport, but unfortunately in MLS that is exactly what happened, and that is why they're thinking of trying to end the season before the international break, which is a good thing to do because again, nobody wants to see this 17-day period without MLS action, and the fact that it's going to break up all sorts of momentum that any team has in the conference semifinal. And then in terms of the playoff format, this is something that I haven't read a lot into this. And by the way, there is an article on, I believe, The Athletic, or you can just go to MLS Soccer Reddit page and you can find that article. But they're saying that they're going to once again put more team in the playoffs. They're going to try to put 7 teams now in the playoffs, which means that only the top team from each conference will get a bye because, in the knockout round, you're going to have to at least have kind of either with a 4-team kind of tournament or an 8-team kind of knockout round. So, yeah, if you do the math, only the top team will get the bye. And now that means that with an increased number of teams in the playoffs, that means now that there is going to be teams like RSL that you wouldn't think they should belong in the playoffs are now going to be making the playoffs. And a lot of fans do not like the fact that more teams are in the playoffs. I mean, for me, I have no problem with seeing more team in the playoffs. This gives a chance for the underdogs to go into the playoffs and cause some shocking kind of upset as we seen with RSL this season. But I understand why some fans do not like this idea, because imagine you're a second place team and you work your butts off in the regular season and that you did everything right, and then when you head to the knockout round you have this one off game and that's it. One off game, you lost that game to a 7th seed and your season is done. So that is the harsh reality of the fact that adding more playoff team could be a huge disadvantage. And yeah, we'll see how MLS is gonna do. This is still just a proposal that they're doing. It's still in a very early phase. Not quite sure it's gonna be enforced next season, but we shall see. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the MLS news of the week. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these news, and let me know in the comments if I have missed a couple of important news from the past week. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.